Coming up next, the fire department update with Chief Scott Hunter and his crew. They're working really hard on the safety protocols during this COVID-19 pandemic. Tell us how your department is dealing with this pandemic. I mean, it's been so challenging and it's gone on so much longer than we all wanted to. We anticipated it to be long, but how are you guys dealing with everything?
Yeah, when we first started the pandemic and operating within the pandemic, we, I would say words like, when it's over. And those are no longer the words that we've been using because it has gone on so long. So we have had to adjust our operations in lots of different ways. One way is that we have a delay in getting to emergencies, and in a life and death business like we're in, time and seconds matter, right? And we've had to adjust that, especially for getting suited up in the PPE, the personal protective equipment that we wear. And our EMTs are exposed to the virus every shift, every day. And especially in the springtime when it was in our long-term care facilities. We have 750 long-term care beds in the town of Bedford, which is a lot for a town the size that we have. They were exposed to this day in and day out, having to come into work knowing that, and then having to go home to their families at the end of that.
The Bedford Fire Department has implemented many safety protocols through the COVID-19 pandemic. EMT Adam Perrin explains how things have changed. Adam, how have things changed for your job in the last year since the COVID-19 crisis?
Day-to-day operations have changed. We went from just coming to work, getting on the truck and doing truck checks and everything, and then starting our day, doing calls, to now we have to increase our PPE, our protective equipment. We have to be a little bit more vigilant about what's going on, what kind of symptoms our patients may be experiencing. Make sure we're protecting ourselves, make sure we're protecting them, make sure we're cleaning all of our equipment very, very heavily with the proper disinfectants. We had to undergo additional training in management of respiratory emergencies for these particular patients, and how to treat them effectively, how to protect us, how to protect them, protect the community. So a lot's changed. Constant readiness.
So we were talking to Adam about the personal protection equipment, and we're here with Jake Nutter, one of the firemen here. Tell us what you are wearing and what type of PPE that you have right now.
So on every call we go on, all high-risk calls I should say, our department policy is that we are to wear this full gown, eye protection, and an N95 mask. To protect ourselves from the COVID-19 disease. If it is considered a low-risk call, meaning that the patient is not exhibiting any COVID-19 symptoms, cough, fever, shortness of breath, anything like that, then we can just wear the N95 and the eye protection. So kind of based off how the call is given to us determines what PPE we go in with.
We are here with Eric Thomas, who's missing his handlebar mustache that we all know and love.
It's November, it's coming back.
Yeah, so it's no shave November, really.
Correct,
so
November, yeah.
You're a paramedic here for the town of Bedford, and I know we talked about what you guys do to protect yourself and PPE, but how do you deal with it emotionally, just going home to your families every night, after working all day, maybe being exposed? How are you dealing with everything mentally?
I've been doing some form of EMS now for close to 30 years, and I think that the biggest change that we have these days is that there's no more easy call, right? We used to have calls where, we could jump on the ambulance, maybe somebody has a sprained ankle, something like that, bad day for them, but pretty easy call for us. But now with COVID, it just adds another layer of stuff that we have to think about. Are we being protected? Are we protecting ourselves? Is the patient protected from us? Are we wearing the appropriate PPE? It's more draining, I think, than it used to be. And, there's a lot of discussion about PTSD and emergency services these days, and there's been some suicides of emergency services folk and things like that, and we're working real hard to try and make sure everybody gets the help that they need. But, it's very draining, and there's a lot of stuff to think about, like I said, and that's probably the biggest thing. You know, we're trying not to bring our uniforms home. You know, we're leaving them here to clean them here, and just overall reduce our risk of being exposed to anything, which is really just good practice anyway, but now we've just sort of added a whole nother layer onto that.
Well, Scott, I want to thank you so much for taking the time, just giving us an update on the fire department. And if people want more information, you can visit bedfordnewhampshire.org and look up the fire department. And we appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, George.